project, and we've been involved in that. I'll let her tell that story. But she's been on, I'll let her tell how many times she's been to Haiti and all that. But Susan, thank you so much for giving us this today.
You're welcome.
Okay. And when do you want me to cue the video?
Give me just a minute.
Okay.
Okay. Stay. Anyway, short history, Haiti became the first free slave-owned, it was a slave trading place. And there was a revolt, and then they ended up buying their freedom from France by deforesting itself, by selling off all the trees. And it shares it shares an island with the Dominican Republic, which didn't. So just the first time we went there, back in the 90s, we had a wonderful associate priest named Fiona. She was British, and her crazy husband, Lars, was Swedish. And you're shaking your head. He's like the Swedish chef from the Muppet Show. Well, he's the one that started it here. They had been in New Bern, and there was a church there that a member's name was Jack Hanna. And he started going to Haiti in the 80s and wanted to do something. And by looking around, they didn't have a way to grow crops or anything. They didn't have soil. Soil was washed away, 100, 200 years ago. And he was I think you say agronomist, and he was called to do something. So in 1989 is when it started out as CODEP started. So that's an old NGO for Haiti. Most of them come and go. They started by hiring Haitians, because the unemployment rate was like 70, 80%, it's crazy, and paying them to grow trees. And it's not just a nursery. They taught them how to terrace the land, because it's all up in the mountains. All the work we do is up in the mountains. And they taught them how to compost. And the median age, Bart looked it up for me in Haiti, is 24. So, they don't have a old, wise depth of knowledge to draw from. So everything was new. So anyway, Lars said to me one day, he said, "You want to go to Haiti with me?" I'm like, okay. I had been to Mexico a couple years before, thought it'd be a lot like that. And he and Michael McCarthy, Win Springs, and another member at that time went. So we get to this rickety airport, and everybody's jostling, moving. It's hot. It's so hot. And so we finally get our luggage, and we walk outside this little fenced area. And outside the fence, there were probably 60 or 70 Haitians. They're yelling at us. I didn't know what they were saying. I was terrified. And it turns out they just wanted to carry our luggage. And about that time, the missionary that was working there at the time came part in the crowds and came to get us. He looked like Indiana Jones to me. I was so happy to see that man. And then we load up him in back of pickup trucks. I was the only woman, so I got to sit in the front seat. And we're going through Port-au-Prince. 1.75 million people live in Port-au-Prince. And it doesn't have working sewers, working water lines. trash pickup, trash everywhere. And it's smoky because the trucks are old, they're diesel, and everybody cooks with wood. And cooking with wood is what kept them deforested. And they still cook with wood. So we get on this rough road, and we were stuck in traffic because it was just, crazy. And this little child presses his little tear-stained face up against the window. And I was just like, I was reaching for my pocketbook. I was ready to give him everything. And the commissioner did that with my hand. He said, "You can't. We'll get mobbed." And I'm like, he said, you're going to help, but you can't help here. And I'm like, okay. So we ride, and the level of poverty I was just seeing from the road, turns out I was seeing the better neighborhoods a lot of times, was mind-blowing. These people don't have glass in their windows. They don't have electricity, water, sewer, any of that stuff. And that was everywhere we went. At the time, the compound was on, they called it Episcopal Beach. The land was owned by the Episcopal Church. The new bishop, a few years ago, reclaimed that, and we had to move. But it was a walled-in compound. And we get there, and my mind is just exploding. I didn't realize how naive I was at the time about the rest of the world. And, we spent a lot of time talking. So that was a Saturday. We get up the next morning, walk about half a mile up on the adjacent mountain to a little church, and people were there. And they're showing up. The first thing that startled me was how they're showing up clean. Their clothes are pressed. We're in wrinkled up T-shirts and things. Their clothes are pressed. And they do this without water and electricity. So that was a shocker. Couldn't understand the service. Only thing I did understand, the preacher, who also worked for CODEP at that time, taught about the faith of a mustard seed, which at that time was very appropriate for this project. They were about 8 years in at that time when we went, and they had 40 employees. And, it's just repetition and a lot of trial and error. And the way Haitian society is, if you've got $1 and your brother needs money, you have to give him half of it. So there was never any real savings. So what they did they did pay him with money, very, very little, just Haitian wages. But they also banked their hours, how many hours they worked. And after so many hours is when they would get rewards. They might get a cistern if their house could hold the gutters. Some of them couldn't. They might get a fish pond. We started growing tilapia, trying to introduce more protein into a diet, which is mainly rice and beans. So they were able to have things in the long run and have the faith that this is going to happen. And that didn't play well for a long time. They were very dubious. Like I said, a lot of NGOs go in and out, and don't hang around. And it's grown slowly. So like I say, it was about 40 then. They had what they called the animators. Those are the leaders who keep track of everything. And then they had the chef équipes, which was like the head of each nursery. That time they had 7 nurseries where they would plant and grow. And Chuck, you can go ahead and start some of those pictures. Oh, and this is what would kill me. That's a school. That's a school. Yeah. Can you imagine that? But these children would show up on time and their clothes would be clean and pressed, and they were, happy to be around. There's your school. That's what always tore me up when I was there. So, and people have to pay for this school. So tuition can be part of the program of CODEP. If you work for it, your kids can go to school. We have built schools. And, remember, no air conditioning, no electricity. That's the cafeteria. That's where the ladies would cook the rice and beans. So, I'm not sure what I saw. I haven't looked at the CD in like 10 years. And that's a different school. We saw a few while we were there. Both of the ones that we were supporting at the time. I think it was Alabama School. So, as the teams worked and people were seeing results, not as many of the children were rusty-haired. Rusty hair is a sign of malnutrition. And when you saw them, it made me crazy. But they were sweet and smile. I think that's good, Chuck. I don't think there is any more. I thought there was on that one. But technical difficulties. And I'm very technically challenged. Where was I going with this? So it's grown. There are now 775 employees. No, wait a minute. I gotta look at my notes here.
The 775 employees is for the organization that All Saints supports, is that right? Or the 775 employees?
That's the Haitians that work there.
Okay, and that's a part of a ministry that we.
It started as a ministry. It was a consortium of several churches. It is still supported by a lot of churches, but it's gone more for grants and NGOs because they were at a point they couldn't grow. They have planted 175 million trees in 35 years, and they can still account for 14 million of them. And in your head, you're thinking, yeah, that doesn't sound so great. That really is great, because with these trees, there's so much working against them. The soil, or lack thereof, climate change, water shortages, the heat, and goats. There are goats everywhere. And when they first went in to Haiti, trying different things, it actually started, and Mark Robinson's not here, with a non-native species, eucalyptus, because the goats wouldn't eat it. They grow fast, and if you cut it down, it comes back. So you could preserve the root system, because remember, they cook with wood. They build, with it. So to still, and you say, okay, well, how can they account for those 14 million trees? They do. The Chefy Caps, visit their people's property, and a number of the trees, they count them. And they don't count until they get about this big on the trunk size. So it's a leap of faith when these people join, especially the first ones, because they just could not fathom anything like that. But it grew, and it grows by word of mouth. And when I read that 14 million tree number, I was just like, oh my gosh. So now, once they got the eucalyptus in, and it provided ground cover, and they could grow things under it, coffee, gardens. They're not real leafy trees, so it would still allow in some sunshine. But now we've shifted focus to fruit trees, especially mangoes. In mango season, it was told to me that, oh, the average woman, 40% of her calories were mangoes. And so they're going to mangoes, avocados, I forget what now. And they developed a method of growing these trees out of trial and error. It took a long time. But you're on the side of this mountain, which is all gravel and hard, and steep. And they dig trenches and plant the trees in the trenches. And that keeps May from washing away, because they do get a lot of hurricanes and things. But you can also put your compost in there. It doesn't wash away. And you literally see women walking around with bags of cow manure for their compost pile. And I say walking, it's all walking. There's one main road. It goes over the mountains. Everything else you're walking into. And one of our work sites one time was like an hour and a half in. It was my first time on a steep mountain. I started sliding down the hill. And the animator, Renee, ran down the hill and slid down in front of me. Because when I say I was sliding, I was already rolling. And it literally saved me. I had forgotten about that. He is still the chief animator. He's been with us the whole time. And they use the word animator because that's what you had to do. You had to animate how things could be and to get them excited. And the schools that we support are teaching, they call it agronomy now. And so hopefully this will never die out if we keep doing this. They see it, they see the results. And for Jack to have started this with the faith of mustard seed, because everything you do in Haiti is hard. I mean, getting supplies, getting it through customs. And they literally trucked in, containered in everything to build the compound with. Because you can't buy treated, at that time you couldn't buy treated lumber. And all the concrete blocks are handmade. Now, you'll see them by the side of the road, bouncing forms up and down to make concrete blocks, which, is not a very strong thing. That's why most of Haiti collapsed after 2010. We went in one time and we built a house for an animator. He had been working for the project since day one. And when I say a house, I had to take in all this stuff to make the concrete with a concrete pad. It's a 2-room house, probably about, 16 by 20. No glass in the windows, but they did have shutters. And after 2010, that's what they wanted, wooden houses, which are more expensive to build, but after 2010, when so many people died in their own homes, that's what we do now. And I've got some pictures. Since my other slide thing didn't work out. I want to look at some things up there. I meant to have these out earlier. It's just pass them out stacks. You'll see pictures of our house on here. And yes. Click on the story of the trees, please. And scroll down. Let's see. Here, keep going with pictures. All right, this is the first one. See how deep they're digging that trench? And the men and women doing it with pickaxes, they do it in tandem, and they sing to keep in rhythm, to pull it up. Over half the workers are women. Not many jobs for women in Haiti. The pink store right there, APKF, I love that place. It's on top of the mountain, kind of in the middle of our work area, and has the only working toilet for about 30 square miles, probably. It was always a welcome sight. And the last picture's a school. It started out as one building. There's 3 now, and hopefully plans for another one soon. And I'm probably forgetting some of my points I wanted to make. No, I'm not a long speaker. Anybody got any questions? Oh, and why don't we take trips there anymore? We don't take trips because they don't need us down there. First off, it's not safe right now. We couldn't go if we wanted to. But we taught them how to do it all. Taught them how to use power tools. And how to build. So it's a good thing. If we went down there, we'd just be tourists, and we'd spend a lot of money to go sightsee, when they could use the money to buy trees with. Yes?
So is their biggest need funds or
Funds.
supplies?
Funds. We try to buy things down there that's already gotten through, but it's hard sometimes, you know. Right now, fertilizer the price has skyrocketed. And so that's, you know, they need to buy fertilizer right now. They are harvesting their own seeds from their fruit and from rotten fruit at the market. They pull it out there. And I use the term market loosely. It's, you know, everything's on the ground, no refrigeration. But that's all they've known. But hopefully, our little corner of the world, if we can go down another picture. I want to show you one more picture of this website. Oh, that's Renee's hand. He said that's the color of the land when he came, or when we started. Okay, keep going. All right. Up a little bit. The red lines are our planting areas. You see how green they are? Versus, you know, nothing on the other. You can see it from satellite now. That wasn't possible 30 years ago. They did the first what they called demonstration forest. Well, you know, you don't grow a forest overnight. That took years to get it to a point to be able to demonstrate it. And that tree you were looking at with the roots 6 foot out of the ground, that was on the way to the demonstration forest, which they're harvesting coffee in now. So it gives me hope that if, you know, you start little, if you just stick with it and have a lot of faith, it can work out. Yes, dear.
How is All Saints supported?
Not regularly anymore, unfortunately. We are, the Haiti team, as we call it, we are catering a wedding in December, and that money goes to Haiti. But, and Nancy's sitting here, but I wish a bigger portion of our funds did go there. I mean, don't get me wrong, Episcopal Relief and Development, that's a good organization too. But we don't give anything away up there. We provide supplies for the plantings and that sort of thing. But it's got a 4-star rating from that charity rating organization. I can't think of the name of it now, but Charity Navigator. The man who's wrote it, he's been there for 10 years now, and he had worked in Haiti for the UN for long before that. and he was actually able to get in the spring, but he had to fly into Cape Haitian and take this very expensive route, and he got in and out of there. I'm glad I didn't know when he was there. I've had Haitian families at the cemetery, you know, they can't go home. And their families can't get visas to travel here. So they're isolated. And if people know they have family in the U.S., they are robbed more often in the Port-au-Prince area. You have to just totally isolate yourself from them. I don't know if Haiti will get straightened out in our lifetime. It won't. But I hope some calm and order comes to the poor country. And it is poorest in the Western Hemisphere.
You know what the current political situation is in Haiti? Who's in control?
Nobody, not really. The gangs are more in control than the government. They just don't have a depth of anything, like police supplies, police schooling. When I was in Legan one time, the police pulled up in this old beat-up Toyota. And their uniforms were mismatched, second-hand looking things. One of them was a U.S. Post Office uniform. And, they don't have shopping centers or even dress stores. What happens to your clothes that don't get sold at Goodwill? They get put in bales, like hay bales or cotton bales, shipped to these countries. Somebody buys a bale, and then they sell clothes off of that. That's where you buy your clothes in Haiti. So you see a lot of gimme T-shirts down there, a lot. Anything else? So, yeah, I got discouraged and not done a lot of things for Haiti, or what's the word I want to use? Not campaign, but advocated for it or whatever. So now I'm going to be a pain in the ass about it. And it's not belittling any other thing that we support. But I think this is a good one. I know this is a good one. So at least you won't have to put up with me, Nancy.
I've been working with Haiti since 1998,
I know.
so I really appreciate these efforts. We did some Emily there.
Mm-hmm.
She was there in an internship program in 2019.
That's one brave woman. I am so proud of her. She went to Haiti, but she lived up in the mountains with the Haitian family. Not at a compound or a dormitory or anything like that. Fearless. She's fearless. And then she went where? Tanzania? Zanzibar, yeah. Okay.